Hey there, Patriots. My name is David Swanson, and I've been invited by Mrs. Bryant to bring to you a message and a reflection about September 11th, 2001. I gotta say, I love starting a video with, hey there, Patriots. That is a pretty great way to start this conversation in particular. A little bit about myself. I am a history teacher at Bacon County High School, and in that capacity, I am Mr. Swanson. But this year in particular, I am on a full year of active duty military orders. I am currently in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. That is the capital city of Malaysia. If you're unfamiliar with Malaysia, I would encourage you first thing to go to the map. Southeast Asia, you're going to find that peninsular Malaysia is bordered by water, by the Strait of Malacca and the South China Sea. And then there's a portion of Malaysia called East Malaysia that is adjacent or borders Indonesia. And that also shares a border with Thailand. So Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, South China Sea, Malacca Strait, that's where I am right now. And if you look behind me, you'll see the very famous, very beautiful, very elegant, I love this structure. It's called the Petronas Towers. And the Petronas Towers are, would you believe it, the largest standing twin towers in the world today. In fact, they are taller than the World Trade Center towers were. They're about 100 feet taller. These Petronas Towers are 1,483 feet tall. The World Trade Center Twin Towers were 1,368. So behind me, about 120 feet taller than were the World Trade Center towers. These were finished in 1998, and at that time they became the largest twin towers in the world, and of course they are still today. So I do believe it's a very appropriate setting for me to bring you this particular message. I said I'm on a year long of military orders, so in this capacity I'm Major Swanson. And you might be wondering, why Malaysia? Is there a war going on in Malaysia? And the answer is no. Why is there not a war going on in Malaysia? Precisely because myself and my team is here. We're here to advise and assist, to strengthen the Malaysian Army through training, and to be the partner of choice. We want them to choose to partner with the United States Army, which is an experience I have every single day, partnering alongside the Malaysians. We say shoulder to shoulder. So I've been having an incredible growth experience out of the classroom for a year, investing in world security, especially regional security here in Southeast Asia. And that is where I find myself today, bringing you this message. Now, as I think about September 11th, I think about how my generation lived it. There's a lot of things we deal with in history class that are just really abstract, maybe too hard to even reach out and conceptualize. I mean, ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. I don't know anyone who lived in ancient Egypt, and you don't either. Even bring it a little closer, the American Revolution, a bunch of old people, not alive anymore. The Civil War, same thing, old people. Even get into World War II, there aren't many people still alive from that era, and it can be really hard to not see those as old things from the past. But when we talk about September 11th, I recognize your age group wasn't alive for it. I recognize it's textbook history for you. But if you look around the room and you see the adults in the room right now, your teachers, your administrators, your parents, they were alive for it. It's history we lived, and that makes us a primary source. And as a primary source to 9/11/2001, I feel like I owe it to you to tell you the story. So I am privileged that Mrs. Bryant asked me to do that, and I'm going to do that over the next few minutes. On that day, Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, I was in 8th grade. I grew up in Yukon, Oklahoma. So I was in middle school earth science class. My teacher was named Mr. Rainey. And I will never forget, hear me, I will never forget Mr. Rainey stepping out of the room. And there's the buzz, the hubbub of the class going on, and Mr. Rainey steps back into the room and he says these words, "Hey guys, something's happened." That's what I'll never forget. Hey guys, something's happened. Because what happened is that the world changed forever. And we turned on the TV, and it wasn't the smart screen TV like you have in your classroom right now. It was the big box TV that was like in the corner of the room. You had to use a remote to turn it on. We turned on the TV and we started to watch the first reports coming out of New York City. And even for 8th graders, it was evident that the world had changed. That was my first period class. We advanced on to second period, and I will have empathy with teachers forever, being a teacher myself now. Big decision that day from teachers and administrators whether to watch TV and let students see history or not. And understanding you're probably preserving some panic and some calm by not having the TV on. Well, my next classroom was with Mrs. Joyce Logan, These are the people I've collided with in my life. These are the names that mean a lot to me. I hope your teachers mean a lot to you as well. And Mrs. Logan decided to turn the TV on. And in that classroom, we saw the towers fall. I watched the towers fall live on television as an 8th grader. And in reflection, I'm grateful I saw history happen. I had a sense of the gravity of the moment, and I think she made the right choice. Now, maybe other teachers turned the TV off, and that was their right choice. But I think Mrs. Logan made the right choice for our class and let us see history unfold. Another core memory I have from that day in particular was the bus ride home. I was a bus rider, and on the bus ride home, kids were chattering. There was everyone recounting their stories of the day, what they've heard, how much did we know as 8th graders. But something I'll never forget was the line of cars at gas stations all throughout town. 30, 40, 50 cars deep per pump. People were under the impression that there was going to be a worldwide attack on the global system, or on the oil system worldwide. Oil prices would spike and maybe not even be available. Gasoline not available. So people were lined up to fill up their tank just one more time. And we've seen that happen with hurricanes in Southeast Georgia. You can probably contextualize that a little bit. That is something that stood out to me on that day, was the very long lines at the gas station. And then finally, I do remember getting home, racing up the stairs in my household. And my dad, first thing he said to me is, "David, do you know what happened today?" I said, yes. He had the TV on. As it would turn out, we'd all be glued to the TV for many, many more weeks and years after that. We were glued to the TV at that time, and we continued to watch it together. Late into the evening on that night, September 11th, 2001, 24 years ago today at this point, if you're watching this on September 11th, 2025, I distinctly remember evening news reports showing an explosion in Kabul, Afghanistan. And it turns out it was an explosion at a power plant. And I believe it was an explosion just of natural causes, almost a regular explosion, not a military explosion. But the news reports were that the United States was bombing Afghanistan. Afghanistan believed to be harboring the perpetrators of September 11th. And it was almost like a, we got them kind of a moment. And I will never forget my dad saying, he called me in, "David, come see this. We're bombing them. We're bombing them." And at the time, it was like a hurrah. Yeah, Team America got them back. But in reflection now, what I bring to you at this time here, I would ask, who is we and who is them? We, freedom-loving, peaceful people who don't tolerate attack on innocent lives. Is that we? Them. Who's them? The terrorists who perpetrated this, the financiers, the masterminds, the ones who actually did it. The ones who actually did it were on the airplanes, and they were dead from that day in particular. Who is we and who is them? I'll give you, unfortunately, a lot of people believed we was Caucasian Americans, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant Americans, and them was Muslims worldwide. And that's a pretty flawed perspective, because there are plenty of peace-loving Muslims worldwide who condemn the actions of the few who belong to Osama bin Laden's more radical sect of Islam. And that's a very large question. I just sit in reflection as my dad's statement at that time, we're bombing them. To this day, I think, who is we and who is them? Well, suffice it to say, I'm in the military, I'm in the Army at this very moment, and September 11th solidified my path to service. I wanted to serve prior to September 11th, and the events of the day definitely solidified my desire to serve my country, defend original freedom. And if freedom was going to be under attack, I wanted to be one on the front lines to make sure that it persisted forever. So September 11th changed my life in that way forever. I actually believed at one point that I was going to miss the war. I'm in 8th grade and I'm going to miss the war. I'll tell you a little bit about my continued service here in just a second. Give you two more thoughts about the outcomes of September 11th. Two big phrases that came out of September 11th was "United we stand" and "Always remember, never forget." And 24 years later, I have to it hurts in my heart to wonder if we really still think about united we stand. Do we? Do we choose to stand united? I look around, I see a lot of division in the world, a lot of political division, a lot of religious division, a lot of division about people who think different things. And it's easy to think back to those days in September of 2001, where united we stand really was a guiding principle for us, and almost to wish that we could go back to those days. Another thing that was frequently stated was always remember, or the opposite of that, never forget. And I fear that we have. I just fear that we have forgotten. I fear that reflections about 9/11 are becoming very bland and normal, and even kids in your age bracket are like, oh yeah, it's something adults care about and they talk about a lot. I would ask you to care about the stories that are being told, that are told by your adults who lived the day. Don't see it as just something from a history textbook. Contextualize and understand the lessons of September 11th, 2001, and truly never forget. It's what we promised ourselves in 2001. I would beg of this generation to truly remember and never forget. Something I think about a lot. I've kind of said it. I've kind of teed it up here to bring this as a concluding point. I would never want to live September 11th again. But boy, what I wouldn't do to live September 12th all over again, because the unity felt on September 12th, the lack of division, the camaraderie nationwide, global-wide, was at an all-time high. So while the events of September 11th that brought that on, true tragedy, what I wouldn't give to live another September 12th. I want to just briefly, I'll spend a minute here and kind of summarize what came of September 11th. What came of September 11th was called the Global War on Terrorism. As early as October of 2001, U.S. troops entered Afghanistan. I think it's very important to note we are never at war with Afghanistan. We are never at war with Afghans, peace-loving Afghans who had nothing to do with September 11th. We're at war with the government of Afghanistan that was harboring terrorists and financiers, the group of Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, the government, the Taliban. That's who we're at war with. So we enter Afghanistan as early as 2001, and we won't leave until August of 2020. That's where I thought I was going to miss the war. Well, I ended up going to Afghanistan from 2012 to 13. So 12 years later, I still got to the war. And believe it or not, it would last even 7 years beyond that. Afghanistan is often called America's forever war. And in 2003, March of 2003, also a part of the global war on terrorism, U.S. forces would enter Iraq, seeking to oust the dictator Saddam Hussein, and ultimately searching for weapons of mass destruction inside of Iraq, and especially inside of the capital city of Baghdad. Those weapons of mass destruction would never be found. Just leave that to you as a very light history for what came from September 11th, 2001. I want to close on this. I want to close with a challenge. I want to challenge you today to ask your parents their story. Ask your parents their 9/11 story. They are of the age that they lived it. I don't know if they're in 8th grade, they're younger than me, they're older than me, but they lived it. And ask them their story and really sit and listen. Okay, don't just make it a reel that you're scrolling through. Don't just make it a 9/11 8-second clip. Ask your parents their story, listen to it, ask follow-up questions, and grow from it. And then finally, something I like to do in my classroom, I'll pass this along to Mrs. Bryant and your teachers. I like to conclude this conversation with a section that I call images indelibly seared into our minds. There are many images from that day that people like me can never forget. From President George W. Bush receiving the information, some powerful messaging he gave on that day and the days following, images from Ground Zero, images of the buildings, images of people hurt, also images of the helpers. I'm going to finish with this. The very famous Mr. Rogers quote. Is there any better way to finish this conversation? Mr. Rogers once said that his mother told him, whenever there's a tragedy, look for the helpers. Whenever something bad is happening, you will always see other people helping. And that is one of the great stories of September 11th, is that amidst the tragedy, the nation came together, the world came together. There were individual stories of help. There are government stories of help. There's global stories of help. So I give to you, large and small, whenever you find tragedy, whenever you see tragedy, look for the helpers. You will always find someone helping. So Patriots, thank you for listening to me for several minutes here from beautiful Malaysia, the city Kuala Lumpur, and the Petronas Twin Towers behind me. I wish you reflection, I wish you unity, and I wish that you will never forget September 11th, 2001. Mr. Swanson, signing off.